What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Sketch Sessions. I'm so glad to have you with me today. Um, this entire series is about chilling, relaxing, drawing, being creative together. I don't include music in the episodes so that you can put your own music on while we sketch and draw. And I hope that you will have a great time with me today, a relaxing time, a fun time, maybe even a learning time, as I continue part 2 of our captivating elf drawing. Speaking of the elf drawing, let's take a look at her. This is a much lighter version of the previous illustration because I have done effectively the rough sketch and now I want to do a refined sketch. All right. And once I've done the refined sketch, I will most likely use a light box to then do the final ink lines using a manga dipping pen with a G-nib. And there's some bonus content at the end of this episode that you can watch to learn about that. All right. Before I start the episode, I couldn't help myself. I had to go and buy some new stationery specifically for the show. So I have my brown bag here. Apologize for any noise. I'll show you some of the things that I've purchased specifically for this show. All right, and specifically for these episodes. So just a few things. I'll lay them out here before we get to the illustration, and then I'll explain what they are, or if it's not immediately self-explanatory. So I got myself another 2mm lead pencil lead holder, I suppose you'd call it. It's a kind of a clutch type of pencil. I don't know what lead is actually in here at the moment, so I'm going to take that out most likely. It's probably HB actually, so I think I'll leave that in. So I've got that, and then I bought HB leads, Faber-Castell brand, and then I also bought a cheaper brand, Koh-i-Noor or something like that. Never really heard of the brand, to be honest with you. And these are 2Hs. Mind you, I'm probably not going to be using the 2Hs today, actually, because I usually use 2H for construction. 2H stands for too hard, level 2 hardness. So it's a lighter type of lead, and HB is a bit darker. And so we won't be using that. And then I also bought this precision eraser pen. So really it's just a clutch pencil type device that uses very thin little eraser nibs, and this is good for just erasing those little details, things that are usually in shapes, for example pupils, if I want to adjust the location of the pupils. So I think I'll give this a quick open, and then we're going to jump into the sketch, and I'll see you guys there. It's a lot harder to open than I thought it would be. All right. Don't think I'd actually be using this today, but all right, and it comes with one in the barrel. That's very cool. Well, we'll see. We'll see if we use that or not. Okay, we don't need this. I can use this. And we're going to get started. So I'm putting the lead out a little bit more than usual. There's also a sharpener built into the back of this pencil, which is really, really cool. You can just wind it like that, and you can sharpen it, twist it, wind it. And once again, we have a lighter version here of the original illustration so that I can do a final pass, the refined drawing phase. Now, something I will mention just before I get started, and I'm not sure if you can see it on camera, it is fairly light, but I felt that the character was not themed enough. So while she remains a captivating elf, a medieval elf, she leans toward, let's say, necromancy, or being perhaps a type of a warlock. And so that's what we're going to lean in today. I'm still going to keep things loose, still keep things a little bit rough because it's still the drawing phase, not our inking phase. When we go inking, we're going to go super clean. And yeah, let's get started. All right, so again, once again, the rough sketch has been done, been lightened up. We're going to do the refine sketch now. So really it's more about refining, tweaking, and adding details to areas that I didn't add in the rough sketch stage. So yeah, let's get started. What I'm going to be trying to do in this stage is not be too clean, but I want to try and have a stroke by stroke approach, just blunting this pencil just a little bit. I'm going to try and stroke my lines rather than, drawing a line like this, or drawing a line like that. I'm going to stroke everything, right? One stroke, one stroke, one stroke, one stroke, C curve, S curve, straight, right? So that's going to be the approach here. I probably won't necessarily put too much effort into line weighting because we just want to refine what's here. Now, don't sue me if I do go into drawing mode. My intention is to keep more of a stroke by stroke approach, but sometimes one forgets, right? So I must say the face isn't exactly an area where I feel needs any kind of major changes. Or additions, should I say, because that's actually mainly the approach here, is to sort of build in some of those additions, especially on the armor, because there was a bunch of stuff that I feel I hadn't rendered enough. So this went from being a potential 2-stage workflow illustration, where we'd work only from a rough phase and then a clean line phase, to a 3-stage workflow, where there's a rough sketch phase, a clean drawing phase, and a clean line phase. All right. We're just getting some of the key details down. Still trying to say rough and loose as I go over the original sketch. Not too rough, but staying fairly loose. I do want to add some additional weighting to her upper lids, because it's been on my desk since I think last week Fridays when we streamed the first episode. I think we can have her look just a little bit more sultry. Add a little bit more of that mystery to her. Right, it's looking okay. Just making sure this is nice and straight. So refining your sketch is not too different from tracing over it in a way. It gives you an opportunity to, well, refine things. Trying to stick to the stroke by stroke approach. Okay, we definitely don't want anything to feel too stiff or too forced. Let's get her ears down. Oh, I just remembered I need to put my glove on, otherwise I'm going to be smudging all of these lines like a maniac. I'll probably only use the one glove today. So it's my 2-finger glove. It does still smudge to a degree, but it's not It's not putting those oils, the hand oils, on the page, which then affects the grippiness of the graphite. Right. Okay, so stroke by stroke, that's the approach you want to try and maintain here. So we draw these sections out. And actually can't wait to do the inking, show you guys that, where we're going to really, really focus on the line weighting and how we approach that with the inks. Okay. Trying to be loose. Don't have to stick exactly to the plan. Have a little trick for drawing these ears. I will show you guys some time. Okay, and she's got some earrings in this ear. So let's get those in. Do this one over here. Right. I think that's going okay for now. Try and keep the stroke by stroke approach up. Guess I'm not happy with the way the collar / the neck piece kind of appears here. So you'll see me definitely get a little bit more sketchy in areas where I'm not entirely certain how I want certain armor pieces and such to be. That is like, for example, there, this is just like a graphic element that I'm adding on the fly. Also don't want too many details, mind you. The more details you add, the more details you have to ink, right? The more things you have to consider when you're coloring the piece. Just weighting this section up. I think I was fairly fine with the hair. I can tell you, like, this section of hair here, I have not really properly figured out. We'll get there. Just make sure this is looking okay. Okay, no problem. Let's figure out the hair. Stroke by stroke is definitely something you want to be doing with hair. Because it gives the hair a very natural feel. Like here I'm going to be winging this like a maniac. I can't really see my original lines very well on this lightened version. Might erase that, we'll have to see. Yeah, that looks okay. I think we'll keep it, it's fine. As long as it works, makes sense. Weighting this ear line a little bit. Also, if you are doing a sketch where it's a rough sketch into a refined sketch, doing the stroke by stroke approach is a good way to sort of pre-practice your inking strategy, right? So here I'm going to just try to define some of the volumes of hair. We've got a lot of hair, the hair sort of bunching back like this. So this line's possibly not a good idea here, but anyway, it's fine. I'm sure it'll be okay. I have to figure this out one step at a time. Don't want too many lines in the hair. All right, that seems okay. Get these shapes down. So she's got this hair bun here. There's a little kind of peak at the hair tie of sorts that's holding this lot together. So I'm going to try and differentiate it a little bit, maybe with some line weighting, thickening up the lines a bit. All right. Stroke by stroke. Now, some things I feel don't make super tons of sense, but it only matters, you know, if it's really affecting the overall believability of the piece. So, yeah. Anyway, I think that's pretty much the hair bun complete. I think I'll weight it a bit here. Okay, so in my view, in my mind's eye, if you will, we've got light coming from the top right side of the image. So I can use that knowledge to weight some bottom areas. So for example, like the bottom of the jaw here, going into the chin. Just add a little bit of weight there, just to bring that volume into the piece. Right, apply it as your creativity guides you. Right. All right, now our hair parting is here. There isn't really any sketching here to work from. So I'm going to use my intuition. That line doesn't seem right. Let's take that out. I must say this Faber-Castell eraser is pretty hardcore. It's not a soft rubber on here, which is good. Means it's going to last longer. I think this whole hair strand, for it to read well, this overlap is probably not the best. Let's get the right side of this again. All right. Let's do this. Pull this here and around. Better be careful not to press too hard, mind you. It just makes it an absolute pain when you're trying to erase. I think it's very important that this has more of an angle to it. The way that the edge of the hair turns there. Okay. Oh, I'm not buying that. I literally almost tried to undo with Control Z on my left hand. Anyway, it happens. Let's just take this out as well. Ending up using that eraser more than I thought I would, I must admit. I can feel to myself that I'm definitely having a little bit of a struggle here when it comes to doing this hair. Just in terms of not having really planned it too much. Look, that is what this part of this the sketch is about. Sort of figuring out these sort of things. So mustn't go too much into a refined feeling when I'm busy drawing this stuff out. but I really want to make sure that the flow is right. That's one of the very important things with hair. You have to keep the flow going. Probably try and draw a little bit lighter. Right. We've got some hair sections coming out here. And some little flowy bits here. And then this sort of main drop over here. Try and mix the curves and the straights together to get an appealing feeling, a nice contrasting feeling. All right, I think for the face that's fine. Guess the hair is reasonable. All right. Okay, the rest is easy compared to this. Okay. Just wondering if I feel entirely convinced about this piece of hair. I think it's okay. Just want to have something here more like that to kind of jump out there. All right, I'm just going to darken this area here just to emphasize the overlap. That seems fine. All right, what I wanted to do here, I'm going to kind of draw this in parts, is to sort of have little skeletons over here. Kind of very small details. But since she's a warlock / necromancy type of elf, thought it would be a cool little detail to add. Okay. I can barely see these lighter lines. Anyway, sure we'll figure it out. Ah, yes, I remember this part. Okay, so this is going to go down, tuck in here like that. That one's going to go there. Okay, we'll work on the breasts in a moment. I'm actually going to have this overlap. This line's going to overlap. It's some kind of charm of some sort. Okay, and then here, this is actually an emblem on the armor plate, the shoulder plate. So I'm just sort of lightly sketching what I want here, because the rough version doesn't really have this well defined. I think that's okay. All right. And you can see here, I've gotten a little bit more sketchy here, right? Less confident in the stroking, the stroke by stroke style. That's because it's harder to do stroke by stroke for drawing. It's easy to do stroke by stroke for rendering, if you will. Rendering in a sketch. Okay, this is the far side armor. I'm going to just wing a few things here. A few shapes, interesting shapes and such. Not too crazy important what's going on this side, because it's more of a distant element. And there are other things that will keep the viewer's attention, I'm sure. All right. I think I want to just adjust the shape a little bit. Use the kneaded eraser here. Just bend it out a little bit. Get a clean piece. Well, while I'm doing this, let me tell you about my day so far. So it's not actually been such a good day, to be honest with you. Not that there's anything wrong with the day itself, but I think I may have made some bad food choices on the weekend in terms of eating too much fast food, junk food, because I feel like my back is more sore than usual. And I think that can happen when you're eating foods that may be high in inflammatory content. So that and a bunch of other stuff that made the wake up this morning a bit rough. So the day has definitely felt a little bit more rough than usual. Right. I'm just imagining how this emblem's going to be. Wondering what to put in there. You know what? Let's not put something in there. We don't need to over theme it. Weight the bottom side of the skeleton. A little skinny. This is sort of running up into this section. Try to make sure the lines aren't too parallel. This armor part's coming here. It's looking pretty fun. Let's get this good right for the camera. You know what, let's work on the skeleton here and then I'll work on the rest of this. Stuff's kind of more boring. I know it's obviously all necessary for the piece, but it's a little bit more boring. Just darkening up the upper lid lines here. Just help me when I'm inking the piece. Okay, so this is sort of a compositional element that I wanted to bring in. Of this sort of floating skeletal, this floating skull, sorry, mind you. Trying to stroke by stroke all of this. It's definitely an unusual skull design. The jaw placement's a little bit different from how you might usually do something like this, but I wanted him to look a little bit more unusual, a little bit more creepy. So I'm leaving quite a few gaps here, these little lines, just to sort of imply, have it to be more implied detail than actual rendered detail. Darken up this section here a little bit. Right, get these eyes in. Very elongated skeletal nostrils. Nostril holes, shall we say. And just a little bit of noise, so some dots and some circles. It's like a lot of cracks and stuff in this some kind of summoned or summons based floating skull thing. Right. You can tell that I put a massive amount of work into concepting this out. I know. Thanks, guys. Right. And there's sort of these floating, just call them, you know, they're here as compositional elements. The idea is that they're really just sort of selling the magical nature of this skull. Okay, there's a lot of floaty stuff going on here. We've got, trying to keep this line vertical, so this gives me a chance to sort of correct what I had done earlier. This was, of course, these details were, of course, added literally seconds after the stream was finished. Last time. Oh gosh, I said stream. Literally after the episode, the show, was finished last time. Try and keep this line vertical. Okay, I think that's pretty fair. I'm going to just weight this side up a bit more. Again, because of that lighting that I'm implying the direction of the lighting. Just keep your silhouette nice and clear. This is actually a little bit darker in here. Might have a glow or some such when the piece gets put into color. Not really liking some of these design elements here. Well, I say design elements, not really liking some of these shapes. I feel that the skull is too, or let's not say it's too, but it's not quite the right proportion for me. This feels a lot better. Let's go with this. The jaw is still a bit messed up, but in terms of actual anatomy, but it's all good. He's a magical skull. I think we've got the cheekbone. Let's tuck this in. Okay, I think that I can pretty much accept. Okay, it's still actually at a bit of an angle. Sometimes you have to decide to what degree are you going to fix certain things. Right, move this bubble. When I move things like this, it's usually compositional, where I want to have some kind of flow, direction of something. Just adding some weighting at the bottom of these. I'm calling them bubbles now, but I mean, who knows what it could be. Let's use this little eraser. Whoops. Okay, so these erasers actually break kind of easily. Better keep it really small. So I want more clarity here with this crack in the skull. Not have it feel so vague. Just seeing all my errors, you see. Too sketchy, not enough Not enough facts. Alright, alright. I'll leave the skull for now. And we'll continue with this. Okay, what symbol should I put in here? Maybe I can work in some kind of, you know what, I'll just make it some kind of sharp looking symbol with spikes. Can't go wrong with spikes when it comes to warlocks. Some kind of spiky symbol. Let's get this in. This is the shoulder pad, which I kid you not, I'm struggling to actually see the structure of this right now. It's so light. Right. Yes, this is the main shoulder pad section here. Which comes down like this. I say appears to. It's very light in this section. You can see where I didn't really finish refining some of the rough sketch enough to even help me at this phase. I think we're going to do something like this. Something like that. And then this stuff is kind of, there's light in here to a point. Right. Okay, cool. Just weight this up a bit. Don't want to add too much detail to certain things. Okay, that should be fine. Now I'd added, just as a point of compositional, well, for compositional reasons, I'd added this idea of these sort of blade type of spikes coming off these shoulder pieces. Okay, let's see if I can do something here with this. Okay. This I'm really having to think about this stuff. Okay. Pull that down. That line down. Seems a little bit skew. Let's correct the left side line. Apologies for the background noise if you hear it. This is supposed to be sort of the blade sections. Don't want to overly detail them. So I think a big mistake that I made in, you know, starting this piece was not having a clear enough vision of what I wanted. I was very much, you know, focused on like, okay, I need to do a drawing. I want to do a drawing for this new YouTube show that I want to do. So the art always has to come first. You want to be successful in the piece. And if the show is about art, I think I will do better planning next time. I'm just going to sharpen this lead quickly, or this graphite. So you can just put it in the lid here. Sharpen it up, tap the, definitely don't want graphite on the page. That's going to spread like a, badly, let's just say badly. Spread like a plague. All right. Pop this back. And let's do the second one. I briefly thought now to make the second one a completely different shape. But if we do that, it's going to become too much of its own focal point. You know, because they're going to contrast. So I was thinking of making the second one like a twisty, cool looking horn or something like that. But if I keep them looking the same, the second one here is supposed to be smaller as well. It's meant to just be slightly smaller. Something like that should be good. Should be fine. Okay, this armor plate overlaps whatever little holders are holding that. I do realize now that there's not a lot of 3D going on here. So what angle do we want to, what angle are we actually seeing these if these are 3D? Gonna just add another line here like this and see. We can make a difference in the perception of that. And that seems cool. All right, I'll roll with that for now. Don't want to try it too hard. Might lose a bit of flow feeling in the piece. These are not as sharp as they could be. Once again, I do apologize if you're hearing any background noise. Just make these a little bit sharper. All right. I think that's fine. Okay. Let's draw the breasts in. This is an area I don't want to faff with too much. I want them to look exactly how they look in the rough. To have that sense of weight to them. And volume, like kind of a water balloonish type of feel. A little bit of a flatter line at the bottom. And we curve up here. If that's okay. Bunch of shadows here. Some fingers. They're kind of in the fingerless glove type of mode. This also, I did not very explicitly render out how this looked. It's more of a shape than anything else. Some shadows and things going on here. I don't want to think too hard about it. Okay. All right, so here I'm going to have, let's say, some kind of like straps maybe. that you can't super tell what's going on. It's just sort of the straps come around the armor a little bit. Darken the edge of that medallion part. Okay, that seems pretty fine. Right. And then here, it's probably some kind of cloth. And this is one of the reasons, this section here is one of the reasons I wanted to really do a second phase to properly define the belt buckle section here. So I'm kind of drawing this out of my head here. Just have the belt overlap here, something like that. When you've drawn enough belt buckle-y type of things in your life, you can do it even though you can barely see the undersketch here. Okay, that should be cool. Could be a bit cheeky and add a little extra piece of belt like coming out here. Oh well. Let's leave it for now. Try and just imply a lot of the cloth stuff here. And this is going to come to an end to this sort of wrapped cloth section. And I see I had done some kind of square shapes here, but the truth is I don't really know what those were supposed to be. This is the sort of curve of the forearm gauntlet / glove section. So just putting some shade here, some shadows there, a little bit sharp pencil. Okay, that seems fine. Pull this line out here. This is the far side elbow shape. And far side glove here to some degree. There's a lot of implied detail here where, you know, I don't want to specifically render out every tiny little piece of this illustration, right? I just want some of it to be more or less understood, especially with our focal point here at the face. Just bring that upper eyelid down a little bit of a more sultry look there. Okay. All right, we're getting there. We're definitely getting there. Make her elf ear a little bit pointier. Right. Okay, this section here It's obviously a different kind of cloth. Here I'm going to just put some frivolous details. These are sort of maybe little straps that, you know, one way or another hook into the elbow fabric, the fabric bending here by the elbow. Pretty vague again. It's not super like, it's not a 3D model, right? Though if anyone wants to render this in 3D, that would be so freaking cool. Because I'll be honest with you, while I may do many things, 3D is not one of them. Okay, that's fine. Oh yes, you can barely see it. But there's sort of little, let's call them stitch lines here. There's sort of a little stud-like design. I can't even see the other one really. It's sort of here. And this is just to more accurately sell the breast shape. I don't think that's quite right. It's not quite how I want it to be. Let's just, where's my other eraser? Take that out. This line's not curving enough, actually. Okay. Just keep that light. When I ink it, it'll be quite a lot lighter. This little line's to sell the shape better, right? Okay, carrying on. So there is a sort of a piece of shirt or some such here. Just going to add some extra weight to this elbow. Right, just because we've got this here. Put this line here. Weight this up. We can weight up the bottom of this actually as well. No harm there. Overlapping. Underlapping. Is an underlapping a real word? To underlap. And here we move into, whoops, bent the paper a little bit, it's not a big deal. Just so you know, there's nothing underneath here. Not that there would be, but anyway. I'm just bringing this line in. Here's another belt buckle that I want to sort of render, but I kind of didn't get to do it in the sketch phase. We have this light line to the navel, kind of S-curving down here, and then sort of an implied section here of the far side of the stomach, and then this belt, trying to be loose, right? I'm trying to just keep good sense of looseness here. And then this belt section comes around. Okay, now let's do this buckle. I'm trying to think about how I want to bring the forms of the buckle out. So we're going to sort of have this facing the camera a little bit. See what I mean when I add the second lines to it. And we'll do this, let's say. And then have this part here, and then the belt lines there. Oh, mind you, it's reminding me, definitely need to have holes as to where these things actually go. That looks cool. All right. There. This is a thinner belt. Got a little sort of buckle hook thing here. Okay. Oh, I think the perspective's a bit wrong there. Let's just fix that. My bad. So what I did when I was sort of theming the character is she's actually got these glass files. How would you spell that? P-H-A-E-L? No. P-H-I-L-E-S? No. File. A glass file. P-H-I-A-L? Something like that. Anyway. And those glass files, they're supposed to most likely have like blood or something in them, right? They're over here. I'll draw them out in a second. Okay. So you've got a little pouch over here. This I want to just bring into 3D a little bit more than it is in the sketch. It has a top lid section that's sort of flicking up. Maybe this is its clip over there. And some kind of other connection device here. Okay, that all looks pretty fine. Just weight this line a little bit more, just for clearer read there. And we've got the files to do. I'm going to just bring sort of a descriptive line down here, maybe over the hip section here. Well, it would actually be shaded more on the top. So anyway, we'll leave that like that. And then I guess it's just the files to do. We're pretty much done. I think I might work this a little bit more. It's a bit dark for one thing. Like that darkness is a result of my uncertainty in the illustration. You can see where I was fairly certain of what I was trying to do. But Mr. Skelly over here was definitely added last minute as a compositional tool. This line's a bit skew as well. Let me teach you a South Africanism, which is it's from an Afrikaans word. That's a language spoken here. It's based on Dutch, something like that. And the word is skiff, which means skew. And yeah, these little smoke things are looking a bit skew. So I've sort of straightened them up. I'll get down to doing the files in a second. I just want this guy, the skeleton head, I just want his volumes to feel right. I think that's fair enough. Maybe I could add, I was thinking like horns, you know, but the thing is I don't want him to become a whole other focal point, a whole other secondary focal point. I'm going to change his eye shapes here a little bit. Flat on the top, rounder on the bottom. Looks okay. Maybe we'll put one little bubble down here. I must admit this is not my most deeply thought out composition, but nevertheless. Okay. And let's try and draw these files in a logical way, a logical, meaningful manner. So the idea here is that they're blood files. Either they could be health potions, let's say that's a possibility. Or they're blood files because maybe she's a warlock of some description. Okay. Hopefully it's somewhat clear what these are. Just make a bit more space here for the other side of this. Okay, this, let me just redraw this section. Okay, let's do this. I'll give this one a smaller cork. There we go. And just weight this line a bit more. Maybe we break the shape up. And I put in like a, instead of having 3 files, I put in a, well, this thing has to still fit on an A4 page. So let me just create a random A4 page here. Just want to see how far I can push an element. If I push it out, okay, I can fit something here. So I was thinking maybe like a sword hilt of some sort. Oh, you know what? Okay, here I'm gonna grab a 2H lead here. Okay, this isn't 2H. I think this is HB. I'm not sure. Just want to sketch this out quickly, make sure it's cool. Okay, and I don't think I'm going to need to sharpen this. This does not feel like 2H. Oh, it is. Okay, cool. So I was thinking to do something like this. We have like a sword hilt coming out here. Not too long. Could be a dagger even. Right, so it'll come out maybe at this kind of angle. But because she's a warlock type character, perhaps the back of the hilt is some kind of like twisty bone thing. This. And why I like this idea, something I was thinking about, why I like the idea of it is because I can get a compositional visual pointer kind of bringing us up to the top of the image. Right, so you're going to have, this is going to be sort of a, one of these sorts of bony looking handle things, right? Something like that. And that's at the end of her, this sort of skeleton looking handle thing is, you know, it has a proper hilt connection at the end. So something very non-inorganic, some, you know, man-made hilt connection here. These guys, I can overemphasize their spikiness with the thicker line. Like that. It's almost like a dragon toe or something, you know? I don't know, something like that. Okay, bring it out like that. Just got to make sure the forms read. And then, yeah, and then this is actually the grip, which, you know, is going to have a wrapped handle on it. As they do in fantasy art, right? Okay, I think okay, proportionally, we've got a small issue here. So, in terms of the shape proportions. So I'm going to just have this kind of be like that. Then we're going to bring out this handle section in a more three-dimensional way like that. All right. Oh, and I forgot a key thing that's actually supposed to be in here, but I didn't put it in because it's so light I can barely see it. She does have this tattoo under her eye, which I'm going to just make up an entirely new one right now, but it's fine. She's got sort of this like warlocky tattoo under her eye. Warlock-ish, let's say. And I'll bring another one here. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the refined sketch of the rough sketch. As I look at it, I'm wondering, is there anything else I can add to it? Is there anything else is there something I've forgotten perhaps? Looks pretty okay. I think I can actually make the armor look fancier here just a little bit by alluding to there being another part of it before we get to the neck, right? So that looks kind of cool. I think that's about it. I really do. I think we're ready to do the clean lines. No, we're not. Let's just fix this hair. It's not the best hair I've ever drawn. I can admit that. Just want some of this hair to kind of flick over. Make it clear for myself when I'm inking this what's actually going on here. Oh, and there is a little bit of a hair over here as well. Okay, I think that's it. I really do. All right. I hope that you guys had such a great time chilling, drawing, sketching, and just enjoying this episode. The next episode, much to my absolute fear, we'll be using, like I said, the dipping pen and ink to ink the illustration. I'm definitely excited to do that with you guys. I hope that'll be another chilled session of art. I hope that this has inspired you to draw, to create, to pursue drawing in an AI world. I hope that you still want to pursue drawing in an AI world, because drawing is just freaking fun and very rewarding, right? And don't forget to stay tuned to the bonus section at the end of this video, where I discuss the dipping pen and the G-nib in more detail, as well as the inks. That's it for this episode, and I'll see you guys next time. All right, so let's get some tools here. So, you know, when we think inking for comics, right, we think about using some kind of multi-liner. For example, here's a Copic multi-liner. This is a 0.3 Copic multi-liner. It's water and, as they say on their pens, Copic proof. So you can color over this no problem, right? It's just your typical multi-liner pen. Don't know if the camera's going to focus at that distance, but it doesn't matter. Right, typical multi-liner. It's a pretty good one if you're planning to use Copic markers to color your work traditionally, right? But this is not what I recommend. This is a very good pen though. There's no problem with this pen at all. What I recommend is that you get yourself, this might seem scary, you get yourself a dipping pen handle, right? This is a Tachikawa dipping pen handle. I don't think it's very expensive at all. I like this one. It has a little rubber grip on it. You get yourself some dipping pen ink. So this is Kuretake Super Black Ink 60. It's the Zig brand, Zig Cartoonist brand. All right. And you get yourself some G-nibs. So this may or may not be available in your country. If it isn't, don't stress. I'm sure that you can import it from Amazon Japan, because that's where I got these from. I can't remember this brand. Nico. These are Nico, right? So these are G nibs. The G nib is the name of the nib is G, the letter G, right? Let's see if I can grab this out here for you and show you. And I'll be using this to ink this piece, using these to ink this piece when we get to that phase. All right. And literally the nibs just slot right in. Now you might be a bit afraid to use a tool like this. It's not that scary. So what you have is you have this G nib, and I believe it's called a G nib because there are little grooves in the sides of the nib that make a G shape. All right, but really what this allows you to do is to have nice thick and thin lines that you can control very easily, and it holds a decent amount of ink. You dip it in the ink, and I'll do a proper drawing at some other point in time, but you dip it in the ink and you use a stroke by stroke technique to create very beautiful lines. You want to use the right kind of ink. You can also use manga ink. I'm just seeing if I can get a container out here. This brand of manga ink, also very good. You want to be careful that the ink you're using is both waterproof and I would say marker proof. So usually waterproof should be enough, because you don't want the ink to start bleeding when you are inking the sketch, right? Or when you're coloring the sketch, sorry. And then as a side note, you get ink in different colors as well. So I've got the Zig brand white ink here, and I've got brown inks. This is De La Rani FW series. So this is what I recommend for really, really nice professional level inking. You can achieve a professional result if you're using multi-liners, but they actually take more work, in my opinion, and inking takes a lot longer because you have to line weight. You have to manually layer your line weighting more than you would need to with a dipping pen. All right, so for anyone who's watching, I do hope that that is useful. Perhaps I will put that at the end of the sketch sessions video, just as a bonus extra. That's actually not a bad idea.